One of the all-time, you know, we all look back on things that were good and bad. One of the worst things that ever happened to me was when you had to go to Smithville. When your dad decided to move a little bit, and they moved, you couldn't have been 10 yards out of Wayne County, and you had to go to Smithville. And Ronnie's a year older than I am, and he's one of the best basketball players I ever saw, and I never had a better teammate than he was. And we're set that year to be really good, weren't we? I mean, we were going to be awfully good, and he couldn't come back and play with the state requirements and everything. Once they moved out of Wayne County, he had to go to Smithville, and instead of him playing with us and everything, when we played Smithville, we played him here at home, and he had another really good player with him at Smithville named Jim Lonier. And I'll never forget this, you know, they beat our ass. But with him, we would have had a really, really good basketball team that year. And I just want to, and he's as good a pal as I've ever had. And you look better than I thought you might look. You seem like you're doing pretty good, but I just, that was the first thing I thought about. You played against us about midway through the season. I think we didn't play, I think we played Smithville before that, and I think we beat them over there, but then when you had to go to Smithville to play, you came back here and beat us by 6 points, I think.
There's no way that we should have beat you on junior year.
Well, you did, and so I just wanted to tell you that here's one of my best pals right here. Hell, he walks about like I do. If we were walking together, it'd be two old athletes walking together. What are we going to do here?
I'd like to have anybody that played against him or played with him to stand up.
I can't. I'll tell you one thing. I've always thought this. One of the really best athletes ever in Orrville was Bob Shaw, and his brother Bill and I were pretty good athletes. But I think Bob was, at least when I played, was just about as good as anybody could be. And I look back on him starting me as my coaching career in basketball. Kind of an incidental thing happened. And I was on the I think, what was I, fifth grade, in the fifth grade then, or the sixth grade, and so I think Dave Knight, was no relation, but almost like another dad for me, was the junior high school coach. And I think I was in about the sixth grade, and he took me into junior high practice every afternoon. And so when I first got there, Bob gave me my first lesson in coaching, and it was on defense too. And you know, you don't win on offense, you win on defense. But he gave me my first lesson in coaching. He was a couple years older. I could, in the old Orrville gym, I could show you where he did this. And I'm standing there with him, and we're kind of getting ready to scrimmage a little bit. Bob grabs me by both hands and just damn near lifts me right in front of him. And he said, well, if you're going, he said, you've got to learn to play defense. He said, you stay between the man and the basket. And don't you ever forget that. I never did, Robert. But that was the first lesson I ever learned about basketball. When Bob did that for me, and I laugh every time I get a chance to. I tell that story about what Bob did.
let me tell a story about we took Quay Norris and his wife to an Indiana basketball game. Quay used to be the principal, wasn't it here?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we walked into his office, and the girls were in there, and he said, my name is Robert Q. Norris, and I was Bobby Knight's high school principal, and I taught him everything he knows. And one of the secretaries looked up and she said, did you teach him his language?
The best story of all is was it Miss Neff? Was she the speaking?
Yes.
You know what I was. So we had. Remember, Mr. Larson was the chemistry teacher. He's a great guy, and he helped Coach Schumpfather and everything. But I honestly, this is a funny story, but I probably shouldn't tell you, but be that as it may. We're coming back. I'm sure you and I, because you went to chemistry class when I did, and I think I'm walking back from the old high school, and I go back, and I'm walking down the road, down the street to where my next class is. And so help me, I did not do this intentionally. And I don't even know why I did it, but I had taken, Mr. Larson was a great teacher, and he had a kind of a thermometer-like thing that was about this long. And I had the plastic case for it. And I just picked it up because I thought it might be, something somewhere that would be worthwhile. And I can remember going out way over on the chemistry class, and we're coming back, and now I'm going down, and I see Miss Neff coming, and she's walking up, and so help me, I don't know how I did this, but as she walked past me, I took this stick and cracked her on the ass as she for no reason. I'm honest. I had nothing against her, and she was a really good. She was the lady, I think, to correct me if I'm wrong, but she was in charge of the speaking program at Orrville then. She did all the public speaking, and she was great. And why I ever did this, I'll never know. And I didn't know how I was going to get out of this. I thought maybe I was going to get thrown out of school. And I just didn't know. She marched me back into Mr. Norris's office. We're sitting there, and she said something about how I, deserved it. I mean, I deserved a slap in the mouth or whatever. And Miss Neff told Mr. Norris something. Well, what did Robert do here? And said, well, he hit me with this thing here, this cardboard thing, and she said, it stung forever. Well, I got deeper in it when Mr. Norris looked at me, and I said, honestly, Mr. Norris, I thought she was better padded than that. I mean, can you imagine how deep I am at this point in the thing? And so I'm sitting there thinking if I'm ever going to get to stay in school any longer. Norris was one of the all-time great people in being a principal or whatever. And he loved sports, and I don't think he liked Miss Neff real well. When that happened, he turned around and started looking out the window in the other direction. And years later, I ran into him. I think it was when you came over to Indiana when I was coaching. And he said, I had to turn that chair because all I could do keep from laughing. So that was one of those things we all get into. One of your sons, my approach would simply be this. I'm here because I think your son can help us have a good basketball team at Indiana or Texas Tech or wherever it was. And I said, what he will be able to receive will be room, board, books, tuition, and fees. Now you think about that with your own kids. You know, you've got a boy that's good enough to play basketball, and all that's going to be paid for, because that's the scholarship and what he gets. And I first learned that when I went to Ohio State to play basketball. But now we've gotten into a thing where coaches are paying parents money to come to their school to play. And college basketball is in a sorry state right now to get all that mess cleaned up. So, but the good coaches, I mean, there were a lot of them. It's hard to coach at Wisconsin, the coach at Michigan State. My most difficult thing in coaching was to come back to Columbus and play. And I had a great time playing at Ohio State. And Coach Taylor was there, and now I'm not playing for him. I'm coaching against him when I went to Indiana. Had to go back. And my most special moment about dealing with Coach Taylor when I was coaching was there was a call. This was in the old arena at Ohio State, and this is something that I will never forget this. And believe me, I didn't make this up when you laughed, but it was this was honest. So we're in the midst of the game, and there's a call that Coach Taylor didn't like, and he's out on mid-court screaming at the officials, and he doesn't even get a technical foul. And I mean, I got a few along the way. And I mean, he's screaming out there at mid-court, and I have to walk back to scorer's table, and you know, and nothing happens, and so I'm irritated. I said, now if that had been me, I don't know how many technicals I'd have gotten, but here Coach Taylor doesn't get a technical, and I turn around and I come back to the Indiana bench, go back to the high bench and the Indiana bench. I remember kicking a chair, and I hope you'll forget the language here, but not a chair, I kicked a towel. Now this is one of my most memorable events in coaching. You got to kind of think about this a little bit. I kicked the towel, and as I was so damn mad, as I kicked the towel, I said, Jesus Christ! And with that, from way up, I don't know if any of you have ever been in that old Ohio State arena. You were there. Way up, as far as you could see, as I said that, a booming voice comes down out of the sky saying, hang on, coach, I'm coming right down.